for mind-blowing coincidences. It's a small little mini-series. So whether you're listening to this on the Intuitive Mindset podcast or watching this in full-blown color on my YouTube channel, I truly appreciate you being part of this today. Are you ready? Let's do this. We're doing a small series on those coincidences in our life that are just too big. How can you explain them? And I know coincidences and things line up all the time. And if you're someone who experiences this, congratulations. You're putting out beautiful intentions and the intentions are coming back and you're recognizing it. That's the biggest part of this beautiful experience called life. So to get to my second story on this little mini series, this involves my beautiful man, Michael. So let's go back in time so I can kind of set this story up and tell it in a way that will make sense. Mike and I had made the decision to leave Vermont and come to Florida for good. So when we made this decision, we knew it was pretty life-altering for both of us. We also knew there was a lot of people that we would be leaving, our family, our friends, our careers, our network, our women's groups, right? That we would be walking away from. So we sat down and together, we had 6 months to make this transition, and we decided very mindfully that we would make a list of people that mattered to us and we would share each other's stories as to why that person was important. And on top of that, help each other achieve that goal. So this was really deliberate and intentional when we did these lists. This one particular person, or group I should say, who was on Michael's list was the Essex EMTs. Okay, so now I have to tell you the side story. Michael, which you don't know about Mike, he doesn't tell too many people this story. His family certainly remembers this story. Michael was playing on a men's league for hockey years earlier, and there was a tragic accident where somebody had come out of, he says, nowhere, hit him. He landed, and when he landed, whether it was the impact of being hit or the fall to the ice, Michael broke his neck. He was transported from the Essex EMTs, and they, he says, saved his life. And they told him going into surgery that there was going to be two outcomes. He was either going to come out of surgery with paralyzed from the neck down, or he was going to be fine. So when he wouldn't know until he came out of surgery. So you know where this is going. For those of you who know Mike, knows the outcome, right? So he was telling me on back to this list that these are people he had to get to, and that every time he saw them or heard the ambulance, he was always sending beautiful energy to the Essex EMTs because he truly contributed his ability to not be paralyzed from the neck down to this group of people who were there and did the right thing by him. So as I was mentioning, we were wrapping things up. So we walk into Hannaford's, like Publix down here, and he sees, I'm heading over to the Bananas, and Mike sees the EMTs as a group come running in to get their dinner for their break. So Mike looks at me and he goes, "Oh, they're on my list." He says, now we're 2 weeks out from leaving. He says, "I'm going to run over. I'm going to acknowledge them, let them know that I really appreciate them and what they did for me in my life. You finish getting the produce." So we agreed. So Mike takes off, runs over to the deli where they were picking up their dinner, and I continued to do my grocery shopping. Well, somewhere around the canned aisle, I look up and Michael's just got this miffed look on his face, and his head's down, and he's kind of shaking his head, and I go, "Are you okay? Were you able to catch them? Did something happen?" And he goes, and he's stuttering and he can't get his words out, and I'm like, "What happened?" And he goes, "I can't even get over the coincidence that just took place." And I said, "What's that?" And he goes, "I was on my way over to acknowledge and thank the Essex EMTs. And I was coming around the corner in the grocery store, and this guy ran right into me. Both of our carts just locked." And he goes, "It was such a shock, but that wasn't the real shock. The shock was when I looked up, I realized it was the same guy who had hit him and broke his neck 25, 30 years earlier. And he literally says, I cannot believe I'm running into you again. So talk about taking that point literally, okay, on his way over to thank the EMTs. He did get to the EMTs that day, but he also was able to acknowledge to this gentleman, he'd never seen him, hadn't seen him since. And there they were having this conversation about how that moment, that thing in Michael's life was such a defining moment. And here that gentleman was standing in front of him. I love it. Do you? Let me know. If you have a story that is just that kind of mind-blowing and whacked out, I certainly would like to hear it. This is Jeannie. I have like a couple more in my bag of tricks that I'll be sharing. So thank you for either listening to this on the Intuitive Mindset or following me in this mini-series. I truly do love bringing these beautiful stories to life and sharing just this beautiful experience and how wonderful and rich life can be when you're open to experience it. Thanks again. Have a great day. See you next video. Bye now.